This time on the UK Brewery Project, we're looking at Woodforde's. This time on the UK Brewery Project, we're looking at Woodforde's. After many years of home brewing, good friends Ray Ashworth and David Crease took the plunge and they set up Woodforde's Brewery in 1981. The brewery was established in the village of Drayton to the northwest of Norwich. They were aware of the new wave of microbreweries starting up all over the country and decided to move to brewing on a larger scale. The brewery was named after James Woodforde, who was an 18th century clergyman who lived in the village actually just down the road from where they set up. James wrote about his love for good beer in his diaries, which he often brewed himself, and that's why they thought it was a fitting name. The original setup used second-hand equipment from Bass's experimental brewery in Burton-on-Trent. They converted lemon juice vessels from Coleman's of Mustard fame in Norwich into fermenting tanks. The first brew was 4 barrels, that's 1,152 pints, and it was of very bitter on the 5th of April 1981. And what a segue, might as well jump in and open a bottle of Wherry here. So I've had Wherry in bottle actually a few times, and I've had it in cask a few times, and I'm going to be honest that I actually prefer it in cask. I just feel it's a bit smoother and softer in cask. I'm not sure actually offhand if there is an ABV difference. Just thinking, no, bottle's 3.8, cask is 3.8 as well. All right, I'll put the cap on. Now this is, you get the bitter smell coming off that right away. This is a true bitter beer. Lovely golden colour. The nose is totally bitter. It's good, but I just feel it's missing that cask condition. In cask, it's just better, it's a bit smoother. And these aren't bottle condition as far as I'm aware. So perhaps that's why I prefer the cask version. Still a good beer, legend of a beer, really good. Just prefer it in cask. Preferences at that stage. So by 1983, they'd outgrown, well, not only had they outgrown their brewery, but they also realised that the industrial unit they were using as the brewery, with the fluctuating temperatures, was not suited for brewing cask ale, which is what they were brewing. So they moved instead to a converted stable block at the Spread Eagle pub in Erpingham, which is just over 10 miles northwards. These actual outbuildings, interestingly enough, once housed John Brown's brewery in the 1830s. So you can see the reason or appeal of this location for them. So Ray was working full-time as a director, whilst David was still teaching chemistry and working part-time at the brewery. With the move to the new brewery, David actually sold his share of the holdings to Ray. Sadly, after barely being open a month in the new brewery, fire hit. It forced the duo to temporarily move brewing to the Malden Brewery in Suffolk. Thankfully, this was only for a few months, so big setback, but it wasn't for too long until they got the brewery back up and running again. By 1988, Wherry was the biggest selling cask ale in the region. The quality of their beers, along with the ever-expanding range that they were introducing, meant that they had once again outgrown their brewery. Ray had located some disused farm buildings at Woodforde in the Norfolk Broads. They spent over a year converting these to what would become their new and current brewery. The brewery had its own borehole, providing them with their own water supply. The first brew at this newly named Broadlands Brewery was Nelson. And I do have Nelson's here, but I'm not going to crack it open just yet because I've got two other beers I've had in mind actually. So Nelson's was brewed at the brewery in October 1989, and as you can see, it's still brewed to this day. Woodforde's began to win national beer awards, which promoted the brewery and their beers while also increasing demand on them. In 1990, Wherry won Canberra's New Breweries Champion Beer of Britain. And I'll cheers to that and have a sip. In 1992, Woodforde's Norfolk Nog was named the Supreme Champion Beer of Britain from Canberra. I don't have their Nog to hand, and I was saying I have another beer in mind. What I want to do actually is crack open their 7% head cracker. So I'm actually going to get a glass that you can see visible right there. Going to get my bottle opener and I'm going to crack open this head cracker. The Wherry's good. I said preferring cask. I've never had head cracker. Let's give this a pour. Okay, it's lighter in colour than I thought it would be. Okay, head developing and building, a whirlpool coming up. Put the cap back on there for the moment. So it's lighter than Wherry. Well, it looks to be. Nope, actually they're both the same colour. Bit of sweetness on the nose, but not much else. Bit of malt as well. Oh wow. That, yep, label says it very well. Wow. One, it doesn't feel 7%, so that's dangerous. Two, it's sweet, yes, but it's a fruit sweetness, and it actually, just reading on the back of here, it was saying exotic fruit character, and that just sums it up. There's a bit of pineapple in there as well. Oh wow. Never had head cracker before, but damn, that's a good beer. I do like head cracker. All right, let's go back. So Nog, not Nog, Nelson obviously was launched, and Nog and all the rest. Nog had won. I'm going crazy here. Just the beer has distracted me. I was not expecting it to be that good. It was really tasty. I really like that. So after they won the Champion Beer of Britain with the Norfolk Nog, that really put them on the map. So, well, they ended up converting their offices at the brewery into their brewery tap, which is the Fur and Feathers, which is open still to this day, or if COVID allows, along with opening up, they opened up two other pubs in Norfolk region, but I'm not exactly sure where they were and if they still have them. I think they do. More of their new beers began winning awards. They had a Mildler's Mild winning Champion Mild of Britain, and I said here, head cracker. It actually won Champion Barley Wine of Britain. I was planning to open up at this stage, but I had to go early. It's needed a beer and it smelled amazing. I mean, it smells amazing now, but yeah, the Wherry in a bottle, yeah, for me. In '96, Woodforde's became one of only 4 breweries to date to have received the Supreme Champion Beer of Britain award twice. This time they won it with Wherry. So they are one of only 2 that have won that award from Canberra twice. And Wherry won it that time. Again, I mentioned the word Wherry. Might as well have another sip of it. I feel like I'm drinking too much in this one. Once again, this led to a big increase in demand for their beers, and for the first time their annual production hit 5,000 barrels, which is nearly 1.5 million pints. That is a big number at that stage. Also in 96, Woodfordes were approached by Boots, the high street pharmacy in the UK, pharmacy slash store, general store I would call them at this stage, and they asked them to produce a premium homebrew kit. So Woodfordes produced a homebrew kit, and I'm mentioning this only because I have one here as well. So I'm gonna lift it up, and I was hoping to do that one-handed there. There we go. This has, well, in here I've only got one tin because I've already done a, rather than doing 40 pints, I've done a half brew of it to do 20 pints. I've got another tin to do another 20 pints. But they now still brew, still continue to produce these homebrew kits, even though Boots don't sell them anymore. But that's what got them into the game. And most of these beers, actually all of these beers here, are in homebrew along with the Nog as well. And they're quite popular. And they do produce solid beers. And as I say, the homebrew version of this, again, just because of how it was maybe softer when to begin with, it was better than the bottle, but with a bit of aging, it's about similar at that stage. But yeah, the popular kits. David retired from teaching in 97 and started working at the brewery again, first as a brewing manager, then as a head brewer. In 1999, Ray retired and he sold the brewery to Dennis Nudd, who was a local businessman, and Mike Betts, who previously was a director at Woodfordes. The brewery then had a slight production increase, and they were now brewing 6,000 barrels a year, 1.7 million pints. A extension was done, so a modern steel-based extension was built onto the brewery, which today houses their fermentation and racking tanks. By 2008, brewing had more than doubled to 13,000 barrels. That's 3.7 million pints. David, in that year, retired as head brewer, but he still works today, COVID permitting, as part of the tour guide team at the brewery. So once again, Woodfordes were pushing their brewing capacity limit, and they spent £2.5 million expanding the brewery with a new 60-barrel brew house that allowed them to expand to 17,000 barrels, which is just shy of 5 million pints by 2009. Sorry for the cut there, my camera just seemed to play up a little bit and seemed to just suddenly cut me off. So, as I said, by 2009 they were producing 5 million, just shy of 5 million pints. I'm going to now jump from 2009 to 2016. The reason being is it's important to know what happened over this time. You had the Brewers Relief come in, lots of small breweries come about, and Woodfordes was now considered a big regional brewer. So you had all these small brewers that were paying lower tax rates come in, which sort of put a pressure on Woodfordes itself. In 2016, private consortium investors from within the drinks industry bought out Woodfordes as Dennis and Mike were looking to retire. The brewery at this stage in 2016 were producing 20,000 barrels and were the largest in Norfolk as well. But that increase isn't huge compared to all the other increases that you can see happened over the previous years. So from 2009, they've gone from 17,000 to 20,000. Big increase, yes, but not as big as the other increases because of pressure from outside forces in a sense. The new owners invested in a bottling and canning line, as well as diversifying out into lagers and pale ales, and introducing their craft beer brand 52 Degrees North. So what I'm going to do at this stage now is I've got myself a glass over here and I have the West Coast Wherry, which is an American amber coming in at 4.2%. Very intrigued by this one. Oh, I was expecting a big hiss. It's actually filled right up to the top, the can is. Hope it's all good. It says good till 2021. All right. Bring it back into view. Sorry about that. Here we go. Again, similar colour to their other beers. They're very much of the pale style. Now, I'm going to compare this up against the Wherry. Wow. Okay. Smelling from this to this, the Wherry is very bitter, of course. That's what it's supposed to be. The West Coast, hoppy. I would still say not as good as the fruit flavour coming out of the Headcracker. Headcracker, wow, but 7% still. That's much fruitier. But that is a nice sessionable beer. Wow, lining them all up at this stage. I'm definitely going to finish these two. I will finish this, but may struggle a bit. Maybe after drinking 7%, this will seem a bit easier. And this sort of brings us to the present with Woodforde's. So at this time, normally what I'll do is I'll take a look at their beer range. So let's just run through their beer range while I have a drink of the, I'm deciding, I'll go for the West Coast Wherry. So as we've already covered, the Wherry is their 3.8% bitter. We then have their Nelson, which is the 4.5% bitter. We have a Burr Gold, which is a 4.3% golden ale. Nog, which is their 4.6% dark old ale. They also have a beer called Volt, which is a 4.5% IPA, which I believe comes under the range here, not under the craft range that they've got. They also have, I think, Reedlighter, which is 4% pale ale. Headcracker is seasonal. It's a 7% strong ale. Admiral Reserve is another one that's seasonal. It's a 5% premium ale, and they also do a winter beer every year, and it's Tinsel Toes, I think, 4.4% winter ale. Of the 52 degrees Norfolk beers, we have, which I haven't had, we have Conquest Lager, which is 4.5%. We have Norada, I want to call it that, which is a 4.3%. I think it's an American pale ale, but we'll call it pale ale at the moment. They've got Voltage, so you got Volt in the range over here and a Voltage in the craft range, which is a 4.5% session IPA. And then you've got their West Coast Wherry, which is a 4.2%. And what is their description? American Amber. Considering that it's the same colour as the rest, I don't quite think that's an amber beer, but there we go. They've also moved into cider. They have a cider called Norfolk Adder, but I'm not sure if they brew that or it's under contract, so I'll leave that one out. So recent awards. So they've won a lot of awards in the history. I think it's somewhere over 113 national awards, but I just want to bring up two of the most recent ones, which have been for more of their modern range, not the ones that sort of champion and supreme champion beers of Britain. So from the more modern range, Volt IPA was awarded a gold medal in the cask conditioned ale category at the International Brew and Cider Awards in 2019. Conquest over here won gold in the premium lagers and pilsners category at the Silver Beer Awards. They're two of the recent ones, just to show that they've won awards from camera and they've won awards elsewhere with their craft range, and even the more modern beers that they've introduced, such as Volt, which is under the ale range, has won awards as well. This has been the UK Brewery Project.